So before we analyze the latest development on who partners Dr. Bawumia in the December 7th presidential election on the ticket of the MPP, remember last week we brought you that report from the National Intelligence Bureau, and they predicted that Bawumia was miles ahead of all the other persons who never have come up for the position of a running mate. And we put together this for you this afternoon. I mean, this is what the National Intelligence Bureau, formerly BNI, this is what they put together after speaking to over 5,000 grassroots persons of the MPP. And at the end of their survey, Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia, I mean, for most preferred candidate or running mate for Dr. Bawumia, and the Energy Minister, Dr. Opoku Prempeh, secured from their survey of over 5,000 grassroots members of the party, 76.2%, followed by the Education Minister, Dr. Yao at 10.1%, and then others. Others includes all the names that have come up so far. Oseche Mensah Bonsu, former majority leader and member of parliament for Swami, the Ashanti region, 3.38%. The Chief of Staff, Fima Opare, 3.34%. Of course, the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Osei-Owusu, who actually ruled himself out of this race, but some people are of the view that he is fit to be the running mate to partner Dr. Bawumia, and 2.2% of the people spoken to said they preferred him. So Dr. Opoku Prempeh, best pair for Bawumia, Napo versus Aduchum, and it's actually a clean, victory for Dr. Prempeh. If you want to look at the NIB report, 84.2%, and Yao Osei-Aduchum, the current education minister, member of parliament for Bosompi, also in Ashanti region, 15.75%. And this is best pair for Dr. Bawumia. And preferred gender, 94% says they prefer a male to partner Dr. Bawumia. Only 6% of the respondents says they rather prefer that Dr. Bawumia select a female to partner him in the December elections. So, I mean, the gap is so wide. And then, of course, the Ashanti region again came on top as a region. The respondent said should be considered in case they are in case Dr. Bawumia is selecting his running mates. The Ashanti region, the person must necessarily come from the Ashanti region, and it's overwhelming 92.2%. Eastern region is the second, the second strongest, wing of the MPP, 1.8%. Greater Accra 1.4%. The last is the Upper West region, 0.04%. So clearly, the people the NIB spoke to, they were firm in their mind that the Ashanti region should be the place that the selections should be narrowed or zeroed in. And it's no wonder that all the people that are rumored to be, bidding to partner Dr. Bawumia, all of them are from the Ashanti region, apart from Dr. Brian Champon, the current Food and Agricultural Minister. So the breaking news we brought to you this afternoon is the fact that last night, President Akufo-Addo had a meeting with Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia. At this meeting, we are told that Dr. Bawumia presented his choice of a running mate to the president to sort of get his buy-in. We understand that President Akufo-Addo gave some advice, but eventually came to the conclusion that he would go with the choice of Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia because ultimately the decision rests on him. What is next is for Dr. Bawumia to now meet with the council of the MPP. Now, the council is made up of all the relevant organs of the party, the elders, the National Executive Committee, and other committees of the party. This council, well constituted, now provide a platform, Dr. Bawumia, to present the name again to the council. The council's endorsement will mean a formal announcement of this name. Now, this name, we are told, is the Energy Minister, Dr. Opoku Prempeh, also known as a member of parliament for Menchia South in the Ashanti region. Now, joining us as we interrogate this matter ahead of this formal announcement is the head of the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana, Professor Ali Duseidu. Prof, you're welcome to the post.
Thank you so much.
So, I mean, Dr. Opoku Prempeh's name has been making rounds for some time now. This week, for example, I've looked at 3 different surveys, the Dankwa Institute, the NIB, which came last week, and others, and all of them point to one direction. Dr. Opoku Prempeh as the preferred choice of the rank and file of the MPP. Does this come as a surprise to you that now we are being told that the name has been formally presented to President Akufo-Addo, who is giving his okay?
So I think it's not so much a surprise. A lot of political watchers within Ghana had actually tipped him that he is likely going to be the running mate based on a lot of media report, publicity, and survey findings that have actually confirmed that he is the most preferred candidate within the rank and file of the MPP. So I think we know that, or we've heard, we've heard that he was the preference of the MPP flag bearer, Dr. Bawumia, because he has ticked almost all the boxes that the party has agreed for the person who will be partnering with him. In terms of regional balance, he balances the northern, southern regional differences. In terms of religious balance, he balances the Christian, Muslim difference. In terms of ethnic balance, he is an Ashanti and also the flag bearer, the Mamposi from the north. In terms of even stronghold, we all know that the MPP Ashanti is the work of the MPP, and they have a lot of clamoring within the region that the person who will partner Dr. Bawumia should come from that particular region. And also a politician, a lot of experience. He got into Parliament 2008, has served as an MP up to now, has been a Minister of State from Education to Ministry of Energy. And people believe that he's somebody who has a fairly good financial that can support candidates. However, people have problems with his human qualities and dealing with personality, dealing with people.
Right.
People believe that over the years, his utterances in response to Ghanaian demand for things that are legitimately theirs or should be provided for them hasn't been in a manner that speaks of a leader. So I think moving forward, and it is very clear in the NIB report that they made reference to when Ghanaians were demanding for a Dumsor calendar, and the kind of response that he gave wasn't presidential of somebody who should be a presidential candidate or a running mate. Hello?
Yes, I'm here, Doctor. I'm listening to you.
Okay. So basically, I think he balances the ticket in a way, but just like the fact that he's a human being like any other person, there are still some challenges and weaknesses that he needs to overcome if eventually the party council approves him. And I do know that there will be a lot of the opposition and other people waiting for him to be confirmed, and then they roll on the strategy and plans they have for him and the ticket.
But looking at the overwhelming support for his choice from the NIB report, the Dankwa Institute survey, all of them pointing to the fact that if you look at the party, he has the support of almost everybody. So clearly, you will say that this will not bring disunity as we head towards the elections, that some people may have some misgivings about his choice. The overwhelming nature of the acceptance of his name should be such that it will have acceptance on board, that his name will not bring about disunity in the party ahead of the elections.
Yeah, to some extent. If you look at most of the polling, they haven't spoken to almost everybody in the MPP.
Absolutely.
They have sampled a section, either leadership within the party or a few group of people within the party. And there are still other people who have been vying for that particular slot. I'm not sure how true this is, but I learned just 2 days ago, a group of people came out, held a press conference and was calling for considering Canada, Japan as a potential running mate. So these things, I think it can be settled amicably, like you've mentioned, in the past. But the bigger challenge, market name beyond the past. So we all know that if all MPP members vote for the ticket, it will be very difficult for the party to get class one. So they will definitely rely on swing voters, floating voters, and even try as much as win some from the end. So the challenge now moves beyond the party. how do we market tickets to the entire
exactly
strategies that they can use, and maybe they have already planned for them. But that would be moving beyond the dominant board-based support at the party level to get that type of traction at the national moving into
exactly the question I was coming to, that he may be the choice of the party, but can he be the choice of the generality of the Ghanaian voting population, knowing very well that on the strength of both the MPP and the NDC, they will require the votes of people we describe as floating voters to win the presidency. Now, what kind of a person would a floating voter, for example, look out for in deciding who to vote for in an election? And that's the ticket of Dr. Bawumia and Dr. Opoku Prempeh present that confidence to a floating voter?
So I think the Opoku Prempeh has his good side. And people who are very close to him or have worked with him think of him as a very gentle, humble person who is very friendly and very funny not to work with. But the general perception from the Ghanaian population is that he is somebody who seems to be arrogant and kind of distance himself from people. And this was actually confirmed or full, or this perception gained back after when people demanded the design of the Jumsor timetable, the statement that he made.
Right.
So that has actually entrenched people's mind. He's actually a very out person. But they can still be back to work, even during the time. But the process so that the flag bearer is largely by a lot of people as somebody who is very helpful with a lot of ability and very respectful. So I think that can offset to some extent that element of the perception of arrogance on the flag bearer. So a very humble, respectful flag bearer going with a perceptibly arrogant one thing. But the issue is that this feels character contract. How are they able to work in the event that Ghanaians vote for them to take over the presidency? Would they work fully? Would they be able to? Would we repeat rolling the Accra scenario will hold up? He's a very strong character. Will he want to dominate the presidency of Dr. Bawumia? And what could that portend for existence and government within the but the implication of development and the country at large? So I think there will be a lot of marketing to be done regarding this particular ticket, especially to the very strong, convinced floating voters who look at their businesses, their interests, the growth, and other things to vote. They are not card-bearing members.
Right.
So they will definitely assess the ticket critically, looking at the experiences of both the flag bearer and the running mate, looking at what they will bring on board in terms of sanitizing the economy and the economic environment and other policies that will make their businesses triumph. The cost of doing businesses in this country, the issue of inflation, and the issue of exchange rate. So I think these are some of the things they will pay attention to, and they will assess the record of both the running mate and then the flag bearer to see how their track record over the years, but also what they will promise in their manifesto can bring to them. So I think it's simple, but a bit challenging task to do.
But again, on the other side, to what extent can the NDC, for example, use the flaws identified around Dr. Opoku Prempeh to their advantage?
Definitely, as a serious political party, they will use it. And I believe by now they already have maybe series of previous statements or tapes or things that both the candidate and the running mate or potential running mate has made. And you see, if you talk to insider MPP people, what His Excellency Dr. Bawumia is going to do with regard to NAPO was done to him some few years back when the current president, His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, presented him to the party council. And then people were not happy because he wasn't a card-bearing member.
Right.
But one of the convincing statements that His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo made was the fact that this guy is an economic wizard and he can restore sanity and bring experience to complement the ticket. I'm a lawyer. I don't have that kind of economic experience. And people thought that it's a good thing. But people believe he was the head of the economic management team, and he's still the vice president of the republic, and our economy has gone way high. So definitely people have paid his fantastic, intriguing lectures on how to restore the value of the city, how to manage the economy when they were in opposition against the current challenges that we face now, still under his watch as vice president.
Right.
So definitely I know people will try to do the same for Napo, statement he has made, things he has done, and how that can portend to. So definitely the NDC as a kind of strategy will try to discredit the value and the integrity of this ticket and let Ghanaians believe that maybe they are just going to talk, but they can't do it. When they were given the opportunity, they couldn't. So definitely I know MPP will prepare a response, and we're going to have a very interesting campaign moving into December.
Just two more questions so that I can let you go. For example, if you want to look at the performance of, for example, Dr. Opoku Prempeh, we can only, we can only measure him by what he did at the Education Ministry and what he's doing now at the Energy Ministry. So at the Education Ministry, one of the main tasks the president gave him was to ensure the smooth implementation of the free senior high school program. Some have issues with it. The NDC, they have not been quiet on their reservations about the free SHS, insisting that it is poorly implemented. Some people have spoken about it. On the energy side, I mean, what we are experiencing now goes to the very core of what government is doing, and this came for narrowing down what the energy ministry is doing to ensure reliable supply of power. Even when we are experiencing uninterrupted power supply, we are not told what is going on. I mean, some would describe it as disrespect and not even, accounting to the very people whom you are serving. If performance is the yardstick we're going to use to measure whether or not Dr. Bawumia and Dr. Opoku Prempeh can be trusted, are this enough to say that they can deliver or we cannot trust them?
Yeah, so it's a convincing argument to make, especially when it comes to Dr. Bawumia. His record as an economic guru and the current state of our economy is a serious contrast that the NDC will definitely use in their campaign. When you look at Napo, when he was at the Education Ministry, he was the arrowhead of the popular policy of the Nana Akufo-Addo's government, the free senior high. So he will at the free senior high up to this particular level. It's a good policy. People applaud it. But there are a lot of challenges that are right with it that need to be addressed. And I think we tend to enjoy your outlet did a documentary on, was it published? I can't remember the title. But it was the fact that at least see an element of reform to the policy to make near people moving forward to energy industry. One instance that was campaign at Mahama was energy crisis. No matter what he did, people still remember him for that particular price, and he did so well, he stabilized for it, losing the 2016. We are now in that state. But the difference between the strategy of the NDC government and the strategy under the minister is the fact that they had a lot of denial. And what people will usually want to see, we are happy. Ghanaians stop it. And the minister of president doesn't think better than the whole Ghanaian population. So what a responsive government would have done is to let people know that we have managed this crisis up to this point. These are the reasons why this is happening. And you have to bear with us moving forward. This is how we seek to address it. And then you come up with a plan that will help people plan and organize their lives around it. But if you deny it and say we only had Dumso and the Mama, what we are having now is something else, I feel it every day. Someone else feels it every day. People who have businesses and use energy feel it every day. How do you think they will feel it? And what would they think about you? Or what do you think about them? So definitely these are very issues that hurt people, that affect people's life daily. So there's no way you can massage it. No. So the realistic thing will have been to admit that, yes, there are challenges. And this is how we are going to deal with it. And people who are rational voters will bear with you and be able to accept that explanation and even help you as government to be able to deal with it. But if you deny it, it means you can't even take concrete steps to measure, and Ghanaians will feel insulted by it. So definitely these are realities people will juxtapose with the candidate and the ticket moving forward. And then rational Ghanaians will now determine that what the NDC is saying about the ticket is right, or the defense the MPP is putting against the NDC accusation is right. So definitely we'll make decisions.
My final question will be, Dr. Mamadou Bawumia is from the northern region, Walewale to be precise. John Domani Mahama is also until the creation of the Savannah region, he was part of the northern region. Now you have Dr. Mamadou Bawumia from the north, Dr. Opoku Prempeh, if confirmed, from the Ashanti region. The Ashanti region has always been the stronghold of the MPP. The MPP is always hoping to get more than 75% of the votes from the Ashanti region. And they say that if they are able to do that, and they get something from the eastern region and a bit from Greater Accra and the other parts of the region, they are well and good to win the national elections. Now, as we look into December 7th, do you consider the north to be the playground for both the MPP and the AS, knowing very well that surely the MPP is going to win the Ashanti region? The question is, by how many votes? So how does this play out in the bigger picture of who eventually takes the elections?
So in politics, we always say that you stand to lose greatly if you don't have a constituency. So if the constituency is not necessarily where you go and vote, but it's your stronghold, where you get your support from. So to start with, both the leaders of the two NDC and MPP are all from the north, and they all claim the north to be their constituency in the party. What they will bring on board or add to what the party already have. So when you look at it, I think there's going to be a lot of dogfight for votes in the north. Even if you lose the election nationally and you're able to do so well in your constituency or your background, it still speaks to the fact that at least you have a constituency to hold on to. But if you lose even if you win the national election, you lose on your constituency or your background, people will still use it against you that you are not even popular. You couldn't even win your hometown. So definitely it is for both the north is for both the NDC and the NPP to win, especially given the kind of flag bearers that they have. They will also always have to make sure that they consolidate their gains from their constituency. Then they will now spread to the rest of the country to let them know that at least we selected a flag bearer from your end and you didn't embarrass the party. But looking at the regional balance of the random base law, the Ashanti region is already a stronghold of the MPP anyway. So they will vote for the MPP rather than vote for the NDC. So the role of NAPO, if he's confirmed, will be to increase the percentage of votes in that particular area. And we saw what happened in 2020. In 2020, the NDC was able to make a lot of inroads and increase their percentage of votes in that particular region. If they are going to campaign more there's a likelihood that they will either maintain or uptake their vote. So the sole responsibility of NAPO is to increase the percentage.
Right.
But Central region is a swing region.
Right.
It's not for NDC or it's for MPP.
And you have the NDC running mate from the Central region. I was saying that you have the NDC running mate from the Central region.
Definitely, that's the point I was going to make. That the Central region is a swing region. So if you are able to select a candidate from that particular region, and he's able to put his acts together, and then use his native influence or using that region as his constituency or backyard in the party, then it could be that if he's able to swing completely Eastern region on the side of the NDC, then it could increase their chances of winning. So a candidate from completely swing region is likely going to add more impact to the NDC's vote compared to NAPO, who is from a stronghold. So what he's likely going to do, increasing the percentage versus in a region versus throwing a whole region to a ticket. That is basically what is going to happen. So if they are all able to maintain their stronghold and add more to it, but NAPO is able to increase the percentage of votes in Ashanti region for MPP, Prof. Nana is able to deliver the entire region to the NDC. It will be an interesting dynamics to watch, definitely.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Alidu Seidu, Professor Alidu Seidu. is head of the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana. And we are watching this space carefully because next is for the Council of the NPP to now play host to Dr. Bawumia. And then if that name is confirmed, then an official announcement would come. Let's move away from politics, but something related to politics, because some people, they've had their investment locked up. They're the Locked Up Investment Holders Forum. They've petitioned the Speaker of Parliament to impress upon the Finance Ministry to include the release of the locked-up funds in the upcoming mid-year budget review. The group has been picketing at the Finance Ministry for the past 4 weeks in demand for the locked-up funds at NDK Finance and 3 other deposit-taking institutions. The group persistent request to meet either the Finance Minister or any of his deputies to table their demands before them has yet to happen. The group is requesting the Bank of Ghana and the Finance Ministry to declare as insolvent and revoke the licenses of NDK Financial Services, bond savings and loans, NIC Life Savings and Loans, and then SDC Financial Services, the 4 deposit-taking institutions that have failed to release their local funds to them. The following report has more.
Well, there's a new twist to the demands by the Locked Up Investment Holders Forum. The lead convener of the group, Dr. Edu Anani Entry, says they have petitioned Parliament to impress upon government to include in the mid-year budget review to make available funds to pay them.
Today what we have done is that we have sent a direct petition to the Speaker of Parliament. And in the petition we have said we want Parliament to intervene and impress on the Minister of Finance to include a provision, the provision that the Bank of Ghana is expecting, the provision that Bank of Ghana is waiting for before it withdraws the licenses of these 4 institutions. Parliament should impress on the Minister to include that provision in the mid-year budget, the mid-year review budget that the Ministry is going to present to Parliament shortly. So that is the petition we have sent to the Speaker of Parliament, that they should ensure, they should impress, they should intervene to impress on the Minister to make that provision in the upcoming mid-year review, the budget that they will be presenting to Parliament.
And as has become characteristic of their picketing, they picket the Finance Ministry every Wednesday to drum home their concerns about their locked up funds at 4 deposit-taking institutions. And today, too, they were here expressing their frustration at the delay in payments of their funds.
At Bank of Ghana, the governor and the deputies made us aware that they are aware of the distressed position of these financial houses, that we have actually brought the petition to them. So they are ready to revoke their licenses if they need be. But they can only act by doing that when they get clearance from the Finance Ministry. So for some months now, we've been coming to Finance Ministry to picket here to press at home our demands that if Bank of Ghana is waiting for you, then you also have to do the needful. This is a financial situation we find ourselves now. So you must act. So that is why we are here. So our case is slightly different from those who are now going to enjoy from this particular 1.5. Ours have not been touched at all.
It's 12 o'clock. Your picketing always ends at 12 o'clock. There's no sign of the minister or his deputies, as has been a characteristic of your coming here. Are you disappointed?
No, we are not disappointed. You know, if you got a baby and every day he or she continues to cry, one day you will come out to ask him, boy, what is happening to you? So I'm not disappointed at all. We will continue to come till November.
Yeah, I found baby bonnet. My register on my mama license. And the DSC Cabay investment. It's the idea of me. And it's say it's here, ma'am. Now you invest in a bonia or Moncanieti investment. Say a bonia or Moncanieti.
The group says if Parliament impresses upon government to include their funds in the mid-year budget review and the distribution starts, they will eventually stop picketing here. But as to whether that demand will be met, time will tell. From the Ministry of Finance, Kenneth Jesse for JoyNews.
So Dr. Edwin Anyamchi is convener for the Locked Up Investment Holders Forum, and he joins me in the studio as we try to understand what really the issues are. Doctor, you're welcome to the policy on JoyNews. So I'm just reading the latest on this, disturbances in Kenya. And just some few minutes ago, the Kenyan President, William Ruto, withdrew a controversial finance bill that sparked deadly protests. And the protestants were agitating against 25% increase in bread and cooking oil. Now, their protests got the attention of the president, and just a few minutes ago, he's written to the Speaker of Parliament withdrawing the financial bill. Now, you've been on the streets for 4 weeks now. Simple demand to see the finance minister has yet to materialize. How do you describe this?
Well, thank you. I think that is what African governments should be watching. When I led the bondholders, after we have successfully gotten government to exempt us, I advised the youth that they have to protest. They have the right to protest, but they should always do peaceful protests. And if you do the peaceful protest, you should get your results. But I think getting the results also will depend on how fast the government will hear. If we are going on peaceful protest. And I think if governments listen to people when they are protesting in peace and resolve the issues, it is better that you wait and it becomes very violent. When I saw this yesterday, I said, well, Ghana doesn't need this kind of demonstration. Burning, I was even saying burning ties and cars, but this time burning even the parliament. So that should tell people that, look, and this is financing. It's the cost of living is part of your financial conditions.
Right.
If your income hasn't gone up and the food and everything that you are going to buy
is going up,
well, how do you meet that situation? So people's lives are involved. That I don't earn much. Already people are suffering. There you go and bring in further taxes to worsen their plight. Then they will say, well, then it's better I go and do this, and even if I die. I saw somebody writing at the back of something that is holding, that if he dies on the field, you should tell Mama that he tried to do his best to ensure that he can live. So it's something that government should watch and listen to people when they have legitimate rights and they are demonstrating on. Resolve it.
Dr. reconcile this for me. I remember last year when you decided to make the finance ministry your home. The finance minister, Kenneth Ofori-Atta, then made a statement that you should go home. He's made promise to pay you, and he didn't understand why you wake up from your house and come to the finance ministry on every day. That payment, is it the case that it didn't come? Or this another leg of the protest?
The other one was for the government bonds. Now we have finished with the DDEP.
So that has been paid?
That is being paid as and when it is due.
It's due.
And government has even completed the foreign one, that is the domestic one, the external debt.
Right.
But this one is for people who have their investment in
NDK, SIC Life, and all those.
That you mentioned. These are institutions that Bank of Ghana has licensed, that they should receive our investment. And then when we need it, we go, we get it. Your interest, when it is due, you get. Maturity, when it's due, you get. If you want to reinvest it, you do. But for some of them, 4 years now, they have not been able to pay your interest to you.
And the reason is what? These financial institutions are insolvent?
Insolvent because, according to them, the financial sector cleanup also has affected them. They also have funds locked up else in other sectors of the financial market. People are not paying them the loans they have given them. There was a run down on them when the financial sector problems started. People ran to take. And then now nobody is sending any fresh money
to them.
And you see, that is how banking is done. If people are not bringing you any fresh capital, you will not be able to pay people who want to take their money, unless you dispose of all your assets to be able to pay them. So we reported to Bank of Ghana. And the Bank of Ghana says, we send the proposal to Bank of Ghana. There are two things. Either you give them liquidity support so that they can continue
to work.
And even restructure them. We said you can pay us some of our money back, keep the rest in the form of bonds, and even some in the form of equity, and restructure these companies so that they can continue to work and employ and also put in their what they are doing to develop the economy. If you think they are not supposed to be brought back, then your law says you should start some resolution processes. And the law even...
And liquidate them.
Yes, that if you see that in the next 6 weeks, a company, a financial institution is going to become insolvent, the law says start the resolution process. The resolution process, you determine what processes you have to start. But the Bank of Ghana says, we cannot give these people liquidity support because where they have reached, it is not liquidity support matter.
That will resurrect them.
Yes,
they are virtually dead and gone.
Virtually dead. And so we have to revoke their licenses. But if we revoke their licenses, the Ministry of Finance must make provision so that we can pay investors. But so again, we are waiting for the Ministry of Finance to make that financial provision so that we can,
you can be paid.
And be paid, just as it was done in 2017, 2018.
But
that is the challenge.
But if I understand this carefully, apart from the SIC Life, the rest are all private institutions, isn't it? So why should government be blamed for your own investment decisions?
Government is not, we are not blaming government. We are saying government is the one that is supposed to do all the necessary things to protect us. If you have done it the other time, 2017, 2018, nobody told government to do that.
And now they are planning to pay 1.5 billion.
Government felt they must do that to stabilize the market. So government did it and provided support. And that's what government came to say. They have spent about 21 billion settling.
Those affected by the banking sector cleanup.
Yes, and the financial sector cleanup has not ended. You still have these legacy issues there. That's the ones that they are trying to solve now. And then it has affected even the financial institutions themselves, those in the system. Many of them are also affected. So it's an ongoing process. So if now you see that someone else has been affected and the licenses must be revoked, then you have to do the same thing as you did the other time. Revoke the licenses and pay, because government has said he is committed to protecting investors' deposit funds. Right. So unless the government say that commitment, he's no longer going to go by that committee. But
this is your area, former head of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Why do you think there was this foot dragging on the part of Bank of Ghana and the Finance Ministry to bring finality to this matter, knowing very well these companies, there's nothing you can do to them to resurrect them?
Yes, Bank of Ghana is aware. They have come out to say clearly that they can't be allowed to continue. We must revoke their licenses. But when we revoke their licenses, and the governor said, we don't want to revoke their licenses, then the next day you come here and we can't tell you where to go for your investment. That would be another challenge.
So there must be commitment from the Finance Ministry.
Yes, but the Bank of Ghana is waiting on the Ministry of Finance to make that provision. And they have the figures. I don't have the figures, but they know that maybe these 4 institutions that are insolvent, investors' deposits with them is maybe 3 billion or 2 billion or 2 point something. They know. So make a provision for that so that I can revoke these licenses. And then we can start the process of paying these people. So that is all that we are saying, that this is what the government has done. And we didn't introduce the financial sector cleanup. It was the government, and the government should have known, and I think they know.
And I'm guessing that this is the reason why in the last 4 weeks we've been trying to have audience with the finance minister and his deputies.
And tell us what they are doing, because we say, Bank of Ghana say, make financial provision. So what are you doing? In fact, Bank of Ghana, from the meeting that we had with Bank of Ghana, you could see that Bank of Ghana has been talking to the ministry to make that financial provision, because it looks bad on the side of Bank of Ghana to allow an institution to go insolvent for some 2-3 years.
And nothing is done about it.
Whereas your law says that if you foresee in the next 6 weeks that an institution will become insolvent, start the resolution process now. So it will become a failure on Bank of Ghana when the law says within 6 weeks, if you think somebody will become insolvent, start the resolution process. And somebody has become insolvent
for over 3 years.
Over 3 years.
They are still operating.
And you are
allowing them to survive.
Everybody will tell you that
but I know that you've written.
So they are worried.
You've written several letters to the Finance Ministry. You've gone to their premises. You've been denied entry to the main offices. They are yet to respond to any of your letters.
They haven't even sent us a response that they have received the petition.
Not even one.
Not, and that they are working on. That's sad. You don't behave like that. Even if you are the minister or whatever, that's not the right thing to do. That your members of a segment of the country writes you a letter, and then you don't even respond to say, well, I've received this petition and I'm working on. Do you want people to go to hit the street and destroy things before you realize that the people are angry? No, you don't have to do that. Mere even responding and saying, well, I've received your letter. I'm also worried that your investments are locked up. I'm doing A, B, C, D too. So please give me some time. Bear with me. I'm trying to resolve this.
Yes, nothing for the Finance Ministry.
Don't even say anything.
Or any of his deputies.
Don't even say anything. The only time that we had heard anything from the deputy minister was when the first time we went for that on the 27th.
Right.
When we went to Bank of Ghana, we have written to the minister on the 22nd May. That from on the 22nd March, that from Bank of Ghana, we were coming there on that 27th. Bank of Ghana, the governor and the deputies and all the heads of departments were there to
waiting for you to, yes.
That is where they told us that they need support from
Finance Ministry
before they can
to do this thing.
And then we marched to the finance, and there was not a single responsible officer at the whole finance ministry. And I was surprised that you can leave a whole finance ministry and everybody has gone out of the building, that you can't get one responsible officer to even talk to. That was 27th March. It was sad. Meanwhile, we have brought you a letter on the 22nd. And all the letters said, I delivered them personally myself.
And today is the 26th of June.
Yes.
So no response from the...
And so when the first day we sent the petition to them that what we are going to tell you on the 27th, carrying that message from Bank of Ghana to you, that this is what Bank of Ghana is saying. We didn't meet you, so the next day we put it in writing, 28, and brought it to you. We waited, we were not getting response. We sent you a reminder, no response. Then we wrote to you that if within 2 weeks we don't hear from you, we will start picketing. Still, we didn't hear from you, and we started picketing on the 15th of May. And then on the picketing, this deputy minister, Dr. Sriviamwa, came around and said he didn't even know what was happening because he's new there. I said, well,
this is the situation.
I can't argue with you whether you know or you don't know. We are dealing with an organization. If you don't know, let me explain things to you. So I explained everything to him. They say, well, he will follow up on the petition and give us
a response
within the shortest possible time. And I said, we are coming here the next Wednesday, so please let your response come as soon as possible. You say
and up to now, nothing.
We waited a day, Tuesday, a day before the next picketing that I have informed the police that we are going. Then he calls me that he wanted to have a discussion with us, a meeting with us, but he's traveling. And he will be back on the 27th. So we should allow him to go and come so that we have that meeting. We discussed that. I said, well, let's give him the time.
Okay.
22nd, we won't go. 29th, because he's returning 27th, we won't go 29th too. So we give him 2 of the Wednesdays.
And yet nothing.
We suspended. You went and you came back, and you didn't tell anybody anything. I even tried to call you, I didn't get you, and I sent you text message, one through WhatsApp and one through SMS that you've come. So please, tell us when you are meeting us. But let us have the meeting before our next planned picketing, because we have written to the police that we were doing it every Wednesday. So the next Wednesday was going to be 29th. So meet us so that we can see what is happening. Nothing. So 29th we went. Then some two, I think the head of administration and another officer called us, and they just told us that the deputy minister has traveled again with the minister. So they have their word that they should tell us that when they come back, they will call us. We waited, no call. Then another Wednesday came, we picketed. Then they call us again. Now they say the minister and the deputy minister are all in, but they are in a workshop outside there. So when they finish the workshop,
to you.
They will find a way to call us.
All right.
1 week came, last week was 1 week. Then we went again. After last week, there was nobody to talk to. Nobody came to tell us anything.
Well,
then today also we have gone, and nobody came to tell us anything. But we say, whether you come to talk to us or not,
we'll continue
to picket until you have made a provision towards that, and then Bank of Ghana can go ahead and revoke this license.
All right.
And that's why today we have submitted a petition to
the Speaker of Parliament,
that you should impress on the ministry to make financial provision towards the liquidation so that the revocation, so that Bank of Ghana can go ahead and revoke the licenses and pay us just as it was done in 2017, 2018. This is still part of the financial sector cleanup, and government cannot run away from it.
Absolutely,
He must conclude it.
Okay.
And we have suggested that, look, speak to World Bank, speak to IMF, so that they can allow you to use part of the Financial Stability Fund to pay. Okay. All the IMF inflows to pay.
Okay. Let's wait and hear what the finance minister will possibly say during the media review. But they've taken their fight to the Speaker of Parliament, impressing upon the need for him to get a finance minister to include their concerns in the media review of the budget. Dr. Anani, thank you so much for coming through. This is the pause. We'll take a short break. When we return, the Court of Appeal has struck out an application by Reverend Kusi-Boateng asking the court to overturn a High Court decision that dismissed his application to restrain Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa from discussing him in any matter relating to the National Cathedral project. When we come back, we have details for you. Stay right there. You're welcome back to the pause, and you can get interactive with us on our social media platforms, on X, on Facebook, on myjoyonline.com, and of course on YouTube. This is the pause right here on JoyNews. Now, the Court of Appeal has struck out an application by Reverend Kusi-Boateng praying the court to overturn a High Court decision that dismissed his application to restrain North Torn MP Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa from discussing him in relation to the National Cathedral project. This will be the third attempt by Secretary to the Board of Trustees of the National Cathedral to get a favorable outcome from the court. Delivering the ruling Wednesday morning, that's today, the panel of 3 judges contended that the application by Reverend Kusi-Boateng did not comply with the rules of the court. My colleague Latif Idris was in court. So Latif, you're welcome. So yesterday, we provided a background.
Yeah.
There was issue about who was going to sit first. Let's talk about the panel today.
Yeah. So the same panel sat, and so...
When you say the same, including the one who excused himself and was not seen again?
No.
Or the new one that was introduced?
Oh, okay. So the new panel without Justice Demefe was the one that sat today. And so they had to then give a ruling on that objection by Thaddeus Sori from yesterday, when he said the panel that has been reconstituted
was unfair,
unconstitutional, and then would not deliver fair hearing for his
and the ruling was what? The application was baseless?
It was dismissed. And because according to the panel, Thaddeus Sori failed to give real reasons why he finds this panel, unconstitutional to begin with, and the fact that they were not going to endure fair hearing for his client. So they
dismissed the application. So how did they come to this decision today?
Yeah, so the decision by the Court of Appeal to strike out Reverend Kusi-Boateng's application of contempt against the North Torn MP, simply based on the procedure and the rules at the Court of Appeal. In their judgments, they said the appellant, that is Reverend Kusi-Boateng, when he came to the Court of Appeal, he stated in his claim that the trial judge at the High Court who dismissed his application erred when he delivered that ruling, making the point that he didn't put the required weight on the evidence they provided to the court.
All right.
When he dismissed his case. So that is the case he brought to the Court of Appeal. In their ruling, the Court of Appeal says that he failed to point out exactly the wrong that the High Court judge made. And that's resulted in him reaching that conclusion of dismissing his case. That is part of the rules of the Court of Appeal. That if you say a judge has erred, you have to point out exactly what he did that you think is erroneous. In this case, according to the panel,
there was nothing like that.
They failed in that regard. So they described the application as incompetent and struck it out.
Completely. And then?
So there is a twist to this whole thing.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. So when Reverend Kwesi Boateng filed the application at the Court of Appeal, Okudzeto was quick enough to follow him there to file his own application, asking the same court to dismiss it. So the court had already made a determination, and they're going to announce a ruling on that initial application by Reverend Kwesi Boateng. But Reverend Kwesi Boateng's lawyers were also quick to go back to the court and say, we want to file additional grounds because we don't believe in what the High Court judge did. We think he erred. We want to file additional grounds to make our case at the Court of Appeal. By then, the Court of Appeal had already taken the decision that they were going to deliver their ruling on the initial application they presented. So today's ruling was based on the first application by lawyers for Reverend Kwesi Boateng, which the panel said today that they didn't point out exactly
anything wrong done by the previous
judge. So in my mind, I'm thinking they are now going to add those to this one, to the one they've already presented to the court, so that they will get a favorable outcome next time when the Court of Appeal is expected to come up with yet another determination on the same matter.
All right. And then you got a reaction from Okudzeto Ablakwa?
Yes. So Okudzeto Ablakwa is worried, essentially. He says he's a member of parliament. He was performing his oversight responsibility as a member of parliament. And then he came across someone who had double identity. Monies were being transferred here and there, and he raised it up. And now he's the one rather paying the price. Because according to him, Reverend Kwesi Boateng has never showed up at the Court of Appeal. But he is always there. But he has other works to do in Parliament, and he finds that it is unfair that the system is treating him this way.
We are glad that the appeal on the contempt case has been dismissed by the appeals court. It appears that this is the only country where somebody who has engaged in a double identity scam will be wasting the time of members of parliament who are carrying out their constitutional mandate of oversight. That's all we are doing. That's all we are doing. And is this a fair price to pay for carrying out your constitutional mandate? And have you noticed that he never comes to court? He never comes to court. We have work to do. We have parliament to go to. We have parliamentary committees. We have our constituents to take care of. We have other constitutional obligations as members of parliament. And he keeps filing appeals upon appeals upon appeals when the matters are very clear. You have lost in the lower courts. Judges have been very, very decisive in their decisions. We were only carrying out our mandate to scrutinize expenditures of the National Cathedral project, and we discovered payments made in another name, only to find out that it is the same person, Reverend Victor Kwesi Boateng, Kwabena Edu Jemfi. And we have adduced evidence to that effect. We have not been mischievous, we have not been malicious, we are only carrying out our constitutional mandate. Unless people think that we are elected to go to parliament and be a rubber stamp, whatever state institutions bring to us, we don't scrutinize, we don't do due diligence, and we allow payments to go through. So That is what we are elected to do. That is what the Constitution says we should do. We do our job, and we are subjected to all of this harassment. We are being impeded from carrying out our work as members of parliament. It is clearly an unfair price to pay. And even though you may think that we should be happy today because this first appeal has been dismissed, remember that he has another appeal on the human rights case, where the Human Rights Court held that he cannot claim that I have violated his right to privacy. We will have to come back here for that matter. I mean, this is somebody who clearly is out to just frustrate us and to put impediments in our way to prevent us from continuously carrying out our constitutional mandate of oversight. It is not a fair price to pay. We should be allowed to do our job, especially when it has been proven by the courts of our country that we were not malicious, we didn't fabricate, we didn't concoct, we only did a diligent, fair, thorough job.
And that's the Member of Parliament for North Town in the Volta region, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. So, Lati, before you go, tomorrow Thursday, there's a case in court?
Yeah, so tomorrow Thursday, Richard Japa will go back into the witness box to be cross-examined by state prosecutors on the ongoing ambulance.
I thought they concluded that last week, the cross-examination.
No, it wasn't concluded.
Okay.
So the state still has a couple of hours to go.
Okay. Latif Idris is our court correspondent. Now, all plastic manufacturers will send their over 30,000 workers home and shut down production for at least 1 week if the Ministry of Finance does not halt a planned 5% tax on all locally manufactured plastic products in 7 days. Now, that is the conclusion, the ultimatum from the Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association of Ghana, describing the tax as obnoxious and retrogressive. Shortly, we'll hear from the leadership of the industry. Right now, though, let's bring you some information on the government plans for to tax, plastic products. So, according to what we have, government will review the excise rate on beer and expand the environmental excise duty to cover plastic packaging and industrial as well as vehicle emission. And this is in the 2024 budget already in motion. Now, the Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association, they've given 7 days ultimatum to shut down due to the proposed 5% tax on plastic packaging that we are told is almost about taking effect in the country. And they say that that will result in some people losing their jobs as well. And they estimate that over 30,000 workers will be affected with this 1 week shutdown, and they will have to go home. And this is to tell government that something must be done about this 5% tax. So the tax imposition will cover cost of producing plastic products. That will go up. Consumers will pay more for the products. Those are the impacts that we think will have on this 5% tax on plastic products. Yes, so, a means to reduce plastic environmental pollution. That's, in essence, what the tax is seeking to do, to reduce plastic pollution that we have in our country. We've been running series on plastics, and you know how devastating it is having on the environment. So this 5% tax, according to government, is to reduce plastic pollution. Right, so the president of the Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association, Ebobochi, says the tax, if allowed to increase the prices of medicine, beverages, sachet water, and other products that rely heavily on plastic for aid production or packaging.
Our position on the 5% excise tax still stands as follows: that the implementation of the 5% excise tax on factory price of all locally manufactured plastic products and packaging be suspended immediately and indefinitely. That a better, a deeper and broad-based stakeholder consultation is done on the idea of any excise tax on locally manufactured plastic products. that a well-defined, locally manufactured plastic product list is established. It will be unfair to put such tax on, say, plastic chair, plastic table, plastic buckets, plastic household wares, water tanks, PVC pipes, plastic TNG, plastic crates, data duct pipes, paint gallons, industrial containers, lubricants, engine oil gallons, pens, HDP water and gas pipes, ice chest, tomato paste pouches, biscuits wrappers, traffic cones, electrical fittings, electrical trunking, conduit pipes, plumbing fittings, blood infusion bags, maize, rice sacks, sellotapes, jerrycans, even foam mattress is made out of plastic. At this stage, we appeal to the Vice President of the Republic, His Excellency Dr. Bawumia, to intervene in this matter, because the effect of this consumer tax will really affect the masses, the common man, the common woman who suffer extreme hardship. In conclusion, we ask GRA to stop the harassment of plastic manufacturers. I take it again. We ask GRA, Ghana Revenue Authority, to stop the harassment of plastic manufacturers. And we give government, the Ministry of Finance, 1 week to respond to our request. Or we shall have no any other option than for all plastic manufacturers to shut down production for at least 1 week. And of course, we will send home over 30,000 workers.
Well, the Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association is also accusing the Ghana Revenue Authority of harassing its members over the new tax.
It is very frustrating and disturbing that as we patiently wait for the appropriate response from government, the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has started issuing demand notices and threats to plastic manufacturers, asking us to start filing for the 5% excise tax with effect from 21st June, or we face up with an assessment to pay with punitive penalties and possibly lock up of our investments if we do not comply. GRA should stop coming after us until there is clarity on this ambiguous tax. The strange part of all of these is that we are still paying the existing 10% environmental excise tax on selected plastic materials at the entry points, even as I speak to you now. Let me say it again, that the GPMA, which is the umbrella organization for the plastic industry, was never consulted.
Well, there's been more reaction to this 5% tax. The president of the Association of Sachet and Packaged Water Producers, Magnus Nunu, says they will be forced to also shut down their production plants for 1 week because they cannot package water in paper.
The main body that supplies us with our packaging material shuts down. What does it mean? It means that you wake up from the day they shut down, and there will be no bottled water, there will be no sachet water. Automatically, we have to fall in line by default. Because we can't package it in paper. We still have to package it in plastic materials, be it bottled water or sachet water. And this is, I believe, must cause the authorities that be to sit down and reconsider the decision. I don't think they're asking too much. And it goes without saying that when two elephants are fighting, it is the grass that suffers. Here, it is the consumers who will have to endure the hardship of going without water for 1 week. Don't joke with it. The consequences can be daring, and I believe it is not a situation we as a country are prepared for. In all strike situations, ultimately, there is almost always a truce during negotiations. But that always comes at a cost to the vulnerable, that's the poor. Doctors' strike would always almost end up with some casualties, deaths. Teachers' strikes will end up, we saw it before it's resolved, with students dropping out of school. A strike by GPMA members would definitely not go without a challenge. Poor individual may drink polluted water from Galamsey, and it could have generational effects. Drink water that is polluted with cyanide and mercury. It could affect your genetics.
Well, let's stay around this matter of plastic and pollution, because it remains a significant challenge for many locals in the Greater Accra metropolis and other parts of the country. However, a non-profit agency, Planet Waves Ghana, is seeking to solve the challenge with an alternative initiative that will replace single-use plastic. Naomi Suzuki, the spouse of Japan's ambassador to Ghana, who is joining this coalition environmentalist, says she's hopeful Ghanaians will join the fight in ending the indiscriminate dumping of plastic waste in the environment.
Pollution has become a menace in Ghana. According to the United Nations Environment Programme, the challenge is not unique to the country, as it is considered a global problem. As stakeholders continue to explore sustainable solutions, non-profit organization Planet Waves Ghana says finding alternatives to single-use plastic might just be the solution. A leading member of the group, Naomi Suzuki, who is also spouse to Japanese ambassador to Ghana, says judging from her last visit to the country, the situation still persists.
I do see a worsening of the environment here in Ghana, having, been here once before. I'm able to compare the situation, and I see a lot of development taking place in Ghana, as well as the pollution getting worse.
The alternatives to single-use plastics for Naomi and members of the Planet Waves Ghana is the use of these sustainable bags made from environmentally friendly materials.
I do see a big problem when I go and shop at supermarkets and vendors in the street. We get free polythene bags, which are very thin and very bad quality, and you use them only single time, and then afterwards you just throw them away. So we want to reduce this, and we are offering an alternative way. So we encourage people to carry their own bags made out of cloth. We can also go for baskets. But we create very beautiful upcycled cloth bags out of flour sacks, out of old garments. Later I can show you what we do.
An associated problem with these non-decomposing single-use plastics is the small pools of water created in plastic litter that are ideal breeding grounds for mosquitoes, which in turn cause malaria. Concerned about the fact that innocent children may have suffered remote impacts of plastic pollution, Naomi availed her skills as a pianist to supporting charity events of Infanta Malaria, another non-profit foundation dedicated to malaria prevention and other good causes.
So I spend a lot of time practicing my piano, and I perform concerts. And here in Ghana, I do mostly fundraising concerts. I use music as a peaceful tool to help the needy. And so in this way, my love for music can be useful for others. And I feel very dearly about my host country, Ghana. Therefore, I've done several fundraising concerts.
Well, plastics and malaria may seem as two distinct topics, but we do know, and the experts tell us, that plastic waste could
country, motherland, then why not you, your Ghanaians, you have to protect, please, your motherland. Don't litter, and please be conscious about your actions.
Amazing. But who's the composer of this song? Blair Sugan's report for JoyNews, Accra.
So remember that before we brought you that inspiring piano plastic, conversation, we were actually on the issue of the manufacturers threatening to shut down their plants for 1 week because of government decision to impose 5% on plastic use. Now let's get on the phone lines and speak to the president of the Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association, Ebo Boche. Mr. Boche, good afternoon. Welcome to the Post.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Right. So you've threatened that you're going to shut down your plants for 1 week. That will lead to 30,000, workforce go home. Do you think that this will be enough to get government to rethink this decision?
Well, I think if we really put the analysis across board, it is not just the 30,000 plastic manufacturers workers, but then it's going to go against a lot of industries. As we keep saying that almost 98% of companies or industries or the manufacturing sector in Ghana depend on the plastic manufacturers for their packaging, plastic packaging. Without the packaging, you cannot do anything. The coke you take, the medicine, the lubricants, everything, it is packaged in some form of plastic. So it is going to have a cascading effect across board. And we don't think we need to go there because what government is trying to do, it doesn't make any economic sense. And from the word go, they never consulted us. This is an official tax. It wouldn't work. It cannot work in Ghana. It will not work in any other country for that matter. And I think the Ministry of Finance is collaborating up to a point. But it's a matter of the GRA. We don't seem to get the understanding. GRA is just bent on going all out, threatening plastic manufacturers. Either you charge, you collect, you file, or we come, assess you, we put penalties, and then close down your investment. We think this kind of approach is not the best from GRA. And if it is so, then we better shut down our plan. And we are trying to serve this notice so that government and GRA can sit down with us and have a better conversation. We don't want to get to that stage of shutting down our machine.
All right. Mr. Boche, so, I mean, the memo that accompanied this proposed tax, according to government, is to use the proceeds, part of it, to help deal with the havoc plastic is causing the environment. Surely, you must be interested in how your plastic ends up destroying the environment.
That would have been fantastic, but and I say but again, this tax has been rated government revenue. So it is not going to go into plastic waste management or recycling. It is a pure government revenue.
Right.
If you still remember, we have a 10% environmental tax at the port, which is still, we are paying. These monies have accrued over 1.97 billion. Not a single city has been disbursed for the purpose of recycling or plastic waste management. For these extra 5% excise tax, it is clear that it is government revenue, and it is very bad approach.
So there was no consultation with you before, before GRA alerted you to be in readiness for the collection?
Zero consultation.
Zero consultation?
Yes.
And so you think that government has not shown enough, openness in terms of getting you on board in the implementation of this tax?
Exactly. And, when it comes to plastics, it's quite technical. And for the technocrats with Ministry of Finance or government, they will not have that background to understand and to come up with the appropriate policy as far as plastics are concerned. So it is very important that government will always involve the experts. Even for us that we've been in this business for over 30 years, plastic keeps changing in terms of material and application every other day. So we even have to go keep ourselves upgrading with technology. So it is very important for government to really consult us. Indeed, the 10% excise tax, it is us. We proposed, we did the drafting, we lobbied for this law because we knew come this day we'll have issues with plastic waste and recycling. We did all this, and government is taking it for granted.
So Mr. Boche, why don't you have a sit-down with government or the Ghana Revenue Authority with the aim of coming to some resolution instead of taking this hard line of closing down your manufacturing plants in 1 week if government does not take the necessary step to abandon this proposal?
This is exactly what we are looking for, and we've already started some engagement with Ministry of Finance. We are waiting for the Honorable Minister to come back and to see what proposals are there.
Right.
But it is the GRA officials, the Commissioner General, they are the ones chasing us. We are patiently waiting for the minister to come, and then we'll engage and then have a common understanding. But GRA says no. From 21st of June, you guys have to charge and pay us. Otherwise, we'll surcharge you, give you penalty. If you don't comply, we'll close down. So this is what is forcing us. It is not government or Ministry of Finance per se. It is the GRA. Their approach is what is pushing us to shut down.
All right. Thank you very much, President of the Ghana Plastic Manufacturers Association, Ebo Boche, with that matter. Now, it is a concept that has already drawn national attention on the JoyNews channel, where prominent personalities who have varied expertise within and beyond the borders of Ghana have been featured to share their experiences, the perspective and solution to solving societal problems. It aims at inspiring the younger generation to whip up patriotism and personal development. I'm talking about the new program DAB, Sages Show on the JoyNews channel. But who are the faces behind this concept? Today, we get to engage one of them, Mr. Yao Nsako. Mr. Nsako, good afternoon. Welcome to the Post.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much.
And I must say that it's indeed a pleasure for me to be speaking to you. So the sages, I mean, what really is the motivation behind it, if you can tell us?
Well, there are several parts of it, but let me try and quickly. A group of us who are independent actors, I stress the independent because we don't work to any sort of partisan considerations, but we're all Africans. And I suppose a common denominator is that we all care deeply about development and scholarship in Africa. We grew up very aware of the reverence in our societies and our cultures as Africans for the place of the wise old man and the wise old woman, and the mentoring roles that they used to play in our history, you know, storytelling and so on and so forth. We were brought up to respect the experience of these people and the role that they played. And by making these mentoring and coaching channels and the ability to share their experiences through telling their stories, etc., we were able to orchestrate an intergenerational dialogue in our society. But we felt that what has happened since our strange democracy took place in many parts of Africa is that there's been a lot of shouting and noise pollution, what we call in Ghana the babies with sharp teeth. And that has tended to crowd out the media from the point of view of excellence in engagement, civil and respectful dialogue or conversation, even when people disagree. Our view was that on a Pan-African basis, if we could get symbols of the excellence that we once had in people like the sages to demonstrate that, it will take the society forward. The other thing is that Professor Giovanni Arrighi called it the long 20th century. We are interested in having conversations that are based on credible analysis over the long term. These sorts of near-term conversations lead us not to dig deep into the roots of issues, the structural foundation of problems that we face. I think it was Michel Foucault who spoke about the archaeology of knowledge. It is important to place current events in their historical context.
Right.
And many of the people that we are talking to are people who have lived experience over decades.
Absolutely.
It is an opportunity for them to be able to share some of it with us.
So, I mean, last weekend on was quite revealing, the interview with Professor Akila Pasoya. I'm just looking forward to one of my own chiefs, Professor Nana SKB Asante, the Omanhene of Asokore in the Ashanti region. But when you set out to do this, what qualities were you looking for?
Well, some of the people you have mentioned, we started out with Reverend Professor Gilbert Answer, and then we went to Dr. Nana SKB Asante. And then there was Professor Kofi Opoku. And then we've had the interview with Professor Akila Pasoya, who you mentioned. And then we've had the interview with Professor Justice Willie Mutunga, the former Chief Justice of Kenya. I think there is an underlying theme that you get. These are all world-class scholars. They are people who are very celebrated in their fields. They are distinguished. They are high achievers. And underlying that, they are all above 70. We started saying that everybody had to be above 70. Because we were now starting, we actually pushed it to above 75 and said we would deal with that first. So if you look at the ages, Reverend Professor Gilbert Answer is 94.
Absolutely,
He has lived through the whole post-colonial experience of Africa, if you decide to count that from 1957. And they are people who got to the very apex of their professions. Nana Dr. S.K.B. Asante is 91. Professor Kofi Opoku is 91. Professor Akila Pasoya is 85, and on it goes. And you can tell from the quality of sharing that they did that these are no small people. These are world-class scholars, so they are doing us a favor by showing up. That's the way that we look at it. It's not we doing them some sort of favor or even thinking that we are celebrating them. They are doing us a favor by appearing and sharing these deep wells of knowledge. And when you listen to them, you see that they are able to place things in a context that these days, when you're listening to people talk, is a bit lost.
Right.
They have a very deep understanding of the progression of things, why things were as they are, some of the factors of decay, and there will be more people like that coming on board.
Are you, for example, fits? In terms of their shoes and sometimes the national values that they espouse, I think that you are also in that category. But in terms of even listening to some of their take on national issues, for example, Professor Akila Pasoya, former BC of the University of Ghana, his take on the free senior high school program. Now, when we listen to such individuals who lived it all, and we have issues with even governance and the way things are done in this country, what lesson do you think that current generation of leaders we have can draw from the experience of these individuals in terms of shaping the national discourse and national development?
No, first of all, let me correct, I'm not fit to tie the shoelaces of the stages. I don't put myself at all even near them in terms of career. And many of them, actually, they knew me when I was a little boy running around in Legon. So let's first correct that these are people who are exceedingly distinguished, and not just on the African continent. They have distinguished themselves on an intercontinental basis. So it's first important that I underline that and I don't sneak myself into being considered.
Well, perhaps you're warming up to that stage.
These guys are 91, and before I get there, it will take some time. Yeah, but hopefully we will all be around then. Yes, but what are we trying to portray? First is look at the civility in debate. They make their points. They are by nature people, and the people who are to come will follow the same path. They are very outspoken. They are firm and forthright in what they say, but they make their points in very civil and respectful ways. So the culture of invective and insulting that you see on our media, on the screaming banshees, the babies with sharp teeth, that when they don't have an argument to make, start to insult people and so on, is completely absent from the nature of dialogue. They are able to disagree, but they disagree in civil terms, and you listen to them and you respect what they are saying. The other thing that you see about the sages is the complete absence of factionalism. People have asked me every time another one has come, what is the political angle that this person was speaking? I said, I don't know.
Exactly.
And it's not relevant to me. They are looking at the development of society, and that's where they are talking from. And of course, we would like our society to be like that. For me personally, who has had the opportunity to deal with some of them, another thing that I have been really impressed with, not always surprised because some of them are known, is just the sheer humility. In spite of their significant levels of achievement and distinction, they are very humble people. And when you engage with them, they are willing to listen. No matter who you are, you have a point of view. So in my view, and also extremely hardworking. These are people who have pushed themselves to the apex of their professions. They've gone to the very apex on a global basis. They are respected at the global level of excellence. And yet they are very humble. So on many fronts, they represent examples. But it is also worth saying that another objective was that we realized, it came to us very clearly when the late Professor Michere Mugo died. Michere Mugo was a titanic, stalwart figure in East Africa and in many parts of the African diaspora. But when we mentioned Michere Mugo to try and celebrate her in West Africa, many people were asking the question, who's Michere Mugo? It was strange. Michere Mugo co-authored The Trial of Dedan Kimathi with Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and she did much, much, much more.
Right.
Very highly respected. But you can see that there has been a compartmentalization in Africa. If you go to East Africa and you mention Kwame Gyekye, who was one of Africa's lead philosophers.
Right.
Many in East Africa say, who is Kwame Gyekye? If in your studio now, if I come and I say, Professor Archie Mafeje, stalwart figure. There are many there who say, who is Archie Mafeje? Claude Eke. And we could go on. Yesterday, I was looking for some information on Professor Abdul Rahman Mohammed Babu, a Zanzibari Tanzanian scholar of tremendous distinction.
Right.
I could find nothing on YouTube, nothing, absolutely nothing in terms of him himself speaking. There was one set of commentaries.
That's sad.
So it is important for us to make sure that at least those who are gone, there's nothing we can do, regrettably. I have said this before, so I might as well say it again. I was actually in conversation with Professor Polan Hontonji from the Beninois philosopher. Big name, but you mention him even in West Africa. Many people say, who was Hontonji? That is a strange thing to hear. We were in conversation. I was actually trying to get him on WhatsApp when sadly he fell ill and passed away.
Right.
One of the reasons why we are doing this is also to ensure, because there's tremendous evidence, not just from the point of view of scholarship, but if you talk to the people in the background that I come from, business, the marketeers, they will tell you that the absorption of media for younger generations is very different from what it used to be. They do a lot of the absorption from electronic and audiovisual means.
Right.
So they go onto social media, they go onto YouTube, and so on and so on. And one is not better than the other. I'm not speaking about it as a regret. But when you go looking for a lot of these sort of prestigious African scholars, some of the names that I mentioned, Archie Mafeje, Ben Magubani, and so on and so forth, Kwame Gyekye, who has not been gone for so long. You try and look for...
I'll do that.
He was a considerable heavyweight.
Okay.
Edubuahi, as a scholar, not as a politician, you didn't find much on them.
Of course.
In electronic means. So we faced up to the issue. If you have the younger generation shifting their media consumption towards electronic channels, and you have a huge amount of the historic scholarship of Africa only in print, you are heading into a situation where, if you are not careful, a huge amount of what has piled up that we should be looking at in terms of the archaeology of African knowledge or knowledge produced in Africa that will help us to be able to understand the things that are coming may be lost on us completely.
All right.
And just making a small contribution, we can't solve it, but it is something that scholars across Africa, the universities, the academies must think about very carefully.
Absolutely.
Because if I want to understand the history of capitalism in Europe, electronically, I'm able to find material all the way to the 14th century. I see the Medicis, Florence, and so on, the city-states of Italy, it's all over there. But we are talking of people who I knew in my lifetime, and we cannot find the scholarship footprint.
All right. So, I mean, because of time, maybe, so the feedback we've gotten from people, they're asking, I mean, are you going to sustain this? What is the end game? Is it going to be a permanent feature?
Yeah, what we are very clear in our mind that we are not going to prolong it just to prolong, but to the extent that we are able to find people who meet the criteria that has been established for the SAGES in global Africa. This is not just about Ghana. In global Africa, and you will see from some of the names that are coming soon, that taking a Pan-African approach, we will continue. whichever is exhausted first will determine when we end the program. But we are deeply grateful, before I go off, for the time, the energy and effort that these sages are putting in. It's a huge amount. They're not paid for doing this, and they are sharing tremendous amount of knowledge in a climate that is sometimes hostile to people being objective. So we are deeply, deeply, deeply grateful to them for doing this.
And I'm also very grateful for speaking to me this afternoon here on the Pulse. Mr. Yaw Nsako is behind the stages. Well, that's our show for today. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com. Stories on myjoyonline.com. Inusa Hussein react to reports he owns real estate properties in Dubai. Says they are inaccurate. And of course, the Bawumia and Napo's story is also on myjoyonline.com. That's our show for today, folks. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, between 3 p.m. with another exciting edition of The Pulse. But before I leave you, whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I do hope it's profitable. More news on Top Story, on Joy FM News Night, and of course, Joy News Prime here on Joy News. Have a good evening. Take care. My name is Elton Brobe.